A tale as old as time. Jim goes to Hawaii, and the Padres snap a 6-game losing skid. You got John tonight on the wrap-up show. Jim, not even en route yet, but basically on his honeymoon/anniversary on his way to Hawaii for a week, which means they're going to win every game. Hopefully, it just took that. I mean, we literally put cards in rice and talked about burying Jackson Merrill cards and did an exorcism on the wrap-up show. Like, we've done everything, right, over the last week. It took Jim just leaving for this team to figure it out. A really impressive win, considering the circumstances, completely up against the wall. Manny Machado comes through. As big of a base running gaffe as I can remember. Maybe someone has a better example, but I have not seen that. And I have watched a lot of baseball and called a lot of baseball, and I have not seen it. We're going to react to all of it over the next hour. Make your way in. Grab a drink, grab some food, and let's talk about it. So please subscribe. We're just a couple of subscribers away from 8,500. If you're here tonight, whether it's live or on replay, I really do appreciate your support of the channel. Hawaiian Jim does as well. Please subscribe. We need to get to 8,500 subscribers tonight. We really could use your help in that. So please subscribe and please smash the like button. You can follow us on X at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. You can keep up on his Hawaiian vacation. I'm sure on social media because he'll have photos and videos to share. And we appreciate the super chats. I won't be able to keep up with the chat tonight, obviously, doing a solo show. So if you want to make sure you get your comment on screen, if you want to support the channel, if you want to control the direction of the conversation, if you just have a question or a comment, if you just want to support the work, click the $ below the chat box. We'll get to all of your super chats here tonight. If you want to become a member, you can click the join button down below. That was a outstanding baseball game is what I would say. Well pitched, obviously. I thought Nick Pivetta was absolutely terrific. I mean, there's so much that goes into tonight with the return of Ronald Acuna Jr. in Atlanta. I mean, he's a star of stars. And, you know, he's coming off a significant injury, hadn't played in a year. And the first pitch of the game thrown by Nick Pivetta, he homers. And you're thinking, wow, I mean, nothing is going right. 6 consecutive losses, and that's the way the game starts. But for Pivetta to not just settle in, but pitch out of jams routinely in this game, that's what was most impressive to me. Like, this was not just quick and easy. Atlanta had opportunities with men in scoring position. There was a spot where he had 2 on, nobody out, and went 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 to 3 consecutive batters. It might have been 3, 4, 5 in their lineup, and got out of that spot. I thought Pivetta maybe was as good as he's been. I thought Chris Sale was absolutely terrific in this game. Gavin Sheets obviously stays hot. And then, of course, the moment we've been waiting for. I mean, Machado had a big home run in Pittsburgh. I think it was a big reason why they won that game in Pittsburgh just a couple of weeks ago. But he had not homered in 63 at-bats. And he has never hit he has never hit fewer than 4 home runs in his first 49 games of a season. And this was his 4th home run in his 49th game. I mean, he desperately needed this moment. And so did the Padres, more importantly. And how many times have you heard us say, as Manny goes, so do the Padres. And once again, it holds true today. Off their closer, he was 0 for 7 lifetime with 4 strikeouts. But sometimes you throw out numbers when you're dealing with players like Manny Machado, who's just capable. You cannot count him out, obviously. And he plays a huge role. And then there's the bottom of the 9th inning that I think we're going to get into and we'll probably spend a good amount of time on. I just haven't seen it. You know, I've watched so much baseball. I was thinking about this tonight. Whether it was here at the place or doing laundry and getting ready for the show and thinking about, you know, I called 15 years of games in the minor leagues, A-ball for 5 years, AAA ball for 9.5 seasons. I've called a ton of college baseball at every level. And I don't think I've seen anything to that extent play out in professional or college baseball. I just don't think I have. And the Padres are the beneficiary. I mean, they had some, you know, not just good fortune on their side. They actually made some good plays on that gaffe as well. Luis Ariz from first just kind of hovering over and being in that cutoff lane to field and then throw to second to get the runner. Eli White, who was a pinch runner of all things. I mean, he's in there for his awareness and his speed, and it's a complete and utter gaffe. And I don't know how it can happen, but thankfully it did happen, because if it didn't, who knows if the Padres win this game? They might have lost this game. They needed something like that. I mean, they just simply did. And for Atlanta, it's an unbelievable gaffe. And for San Diego, it's great fortune. And as Manny Machado said post-game in Kevin Acey's post-game article, thank God, just that they won the game and that he homered and that it played out the way it did there in the bottom of the 9th inning. So it was just Man, it was a good baseball game. If you watch this thing from start to finish, like I did here tonight, maybe some of you were at work or driving on this Memorial Day weekend, and we can recap it all. But this was a really good game. Padres didn't have a ton of opportunities against Chris Sale, did have some chances they didn't capitalize on. And then Nick Pivetta limited damage, obviously. He allows that leadoff home run, but that's all he did. And they needed Pivetta to be really good. He had a couple of starts on the road. Colorado, right? He's struggled, of course, in his career. No real shame in that, even though Colorado's historically bad. He had that start at Wrigley where he really struggled, maybe his first road start of the season. They just needed him to be good. When you're facing Chris Sale, who's won a Cy Young and can be as good of a left-hander as there is. I think Manny Machado said he hasn't seen Sale better than he pitched here today. So that's how good Sale was. And this is another one of those games where, offensively, it's not like the Padres, had their best offensive game. They scored 2 runs in a win, which is something that they had to do. I mean, the Padres in this game had 6 hits in the entire game, but Atlanta had just 6 hits. And, you look at the Padres and Tatis doubled, Machado singled and had the home run, which was massive. Gavin Sheets we'll get into. I mean, he's just on a binge right now. The other hits, Elias Diaz, who had a great defensive play in the 9th inning that we can discuss, and Jose Iglesias had a base hit for the Padres here tonight as well. But this hasn't been smooth sailing, as we know, but it does snap a 6-game losing streak, and now you begin to, hopefully turn a corner towards winning a series in Atlanta, right? If they get one of the next 2, they have played well against Atlanta. In recent history, including this year, 5-0 to start the season series against the Atlanta Braves truly is impressive. So I want to get into all of it. I want to make sure that as we get the show started, everyone has subscribed, and I appreciate you guys with the super chats. I'm going to get to them here tonight. I see the first of the night from Rocket. If you want to get those in, you can click the $ below the chat box, and I do promise to get to them here this evening as the Padres again win 2-1. On cue, Jim goes away and everything changes. It was a year ago in August when the Padres season basically was turned on its head. And I think he went away for a wedding after his wedding, like a friend's wedding. And they went to like Switzerland and maybe they went to Italy, and he was gone for like 10 days. And the Padres were like 9-1, maybe better. I don't even know if the Padres lost, truthfully, when he went away. So if this is going to be one of those stretches where, they go 6-1 over a 7-game stretch or something like that, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, then we can keep Jim in Hawaii. It's kind of like everyone's a winner. Jim stays in Hawaii. Padres keep winning. We'll keep doing the wrap-up show. We'll keep doing John and Jim. Who says no to that? But Padres win. They're 28-21. Atlanta had gotten back to 500, even over it. They've now lost a couple of games here, and they've fallen under 500 to 24-26. Overall, I want to get to the first super of the night. Thank you, Rocket, for your support of the channel. Appreciate you guys. He says Eli White gave the Padres a W. I don't know if the Braves win that game if White doesn't make that mistake or not. It would have been 1st and 3rd, 1 out. And, Suarez can get out of that spot. We've seen that happen before. He can get a strikeout. He can get a ground ball double play. White would not have been sent. That's what the third base coach was doing there. He was holding him. I don't know if he gave the perfect hold call. We could argue the semantics of that. He had 2 arms in the air as opposed to 1 arm in the air and pointing towards the base, which is more, I think, fundamental in that spot. But that is not on the third base coach. Okay, there is no way with a pinch runner at second in your home stadium, watching that ball off the bat, if you are the runner, there's no doubt in your mind. You have to have some awareness there. That ball is down, and you know it a couple of ways. How? The trajectory of the ball. You're at second. The way it is heading over your head. I mean, there was no scenario where that ball was caught. It was 10 yards in front of the center fielder. And then the reaction of the crowd. Why would the home crowd be up on their feet cheering for that long if the ball was caught? I mean, there's just no awareness there by the player. And it almost reminds me of, like, we've seen in professional sports before, like when a basketball player like goes in the wrong direction for some reason and like scores on his own basket. Like that's probably happened like in NBA history 1 or 2 times, like on a jump ball and the player gets like confused and scores on his own basket, or like a soccer player goes in the wrong direction. I mean, this is stuff you expect to see with like kindergartners or first graders. But to have a play like that with a pinch runner specifically, where like it's all about like time and score, so to speak, it's all about awareness. I just don't recall anything like it. It's clearly as big of a base running mishap as has happened in the major leagues this year. And it's one of those, I don't know what it is, a 1 in 100,000, 1 in a million type play. But when you're you're sideways like the Padres are, I mean, it's just massive. I mean, they had to have it because, if it doesn't happen, like I said, maybe the Padres still win the game. Maybe Suarez gets out of it, or maybe they don't. Maybe the next batter for Atlanta doubles down the right field line and the Braves walk off the Padres 3-2. And we're talking about a 7-game losing streak, which would have been the longest for the Padres since 2013. I mean, they've had 7-game losing streaks in there, but they haven't had one longer than 7 games since 2013. So, curious to get your guys' thoughts on that. Again, I thought Arise made a headsy play. He's not necessarily known for his defense, but the way he was able to just kind of walk away from, he just had a good awareness for the play, right? He kind of just found his way in the right spot, left the bag at first, got near the pitcher's pitching mound, and he got in there to cut off the throw. I think without Arise doing that, that ball gets all the way through to the catcher, and White's back at second base. It's first and second with only one out. And Atlanta, still lives to see another day. They wouldn't be set up perfectly. The runner wouldn't be at third with one out, but they'd have first and second with one out. They still could have tied the game or won the game. But headsy play by Arise really was a headsy play by Luis Arise to just play a significant role in the Padres winning this game here tonight, 2-1. So again, I don't even know how many games I've called minor league games, like 2,000, and I don't know how many games I've watched. Like, what's 162 times 35? A lot is the answer. I've seen a lot of baseball across all levels, and I've never and that's the beauty of a sport like baseball. You can watch it your entire life and see something happen that you've never seen before, like a Musgrove no-hitter. 50 years of Padres baseball, we've never seen one. You get one. Okay, that we've seen across baseball, though. Or like a triple play to clinch a playoff spot, like the Padres did last year at Dodger Stadium. Like, there's just things that play out over the course of 162 games. There's so many dynamics and scenarios, especially without a true clock, because you're waiting for 27 outs, and things can happen in there that you just can't predict and you can't prepare for. And it's what makes the game so great. It's what makes it at times so maddening as well. But tonight, as a Padres fan, it makes it great. And for at least a moment, you kind of forget about, where they were, which was getting swept by Seattle and getting swept in Toronto and kind of playing on their heels and coming back to earth and approaching, giving up all that ground that they gained when they started 14-3. But now we look up, they're 28-21, which is a good record. And they're well positioned, right? I mean, a third of the way through the season next week. We're going to be a third of the way through the season, heading towards Memorial Day and heading into June. I always think that the first check mark on a season is Memorial Day. It's kind of pointless to do full grades before then unless you're historically good or historically bad, like Colorado F. But, the jury's going to be out here, and there's good teams in the National League, San Diego's included, and the Padres have work to do like the Dodgers, or the Mets are going to have work to do. But you'd much prefer this start than the one they had last year when they were hovering around 500 for the first 100 games, and they still navigated their way to the 93-win season, and they're playing better today than they were a year ago today. That doesn't mean they're going to be playing better at the end of September this year than they were at the end of September last year or October, but it's at least encouraging that they have responded to a 6-game losing streak, the longest under Mike Schilt, and they win in a tough place to win. I mean, Atlanta was 15-7 at home this year. They get the shot in the arm of Ronald Acuna, who, is stutter stepping around third and then celebrating singles earlier in the game. I mean, he brings so much energy. He's one of the best players in baseball. They have a brilliant lineup, Atlanta, that again started this year 0-7, but they didn't have Acuna, and they're getting healthier. And this is a good win. And being 5-0 against the Atlanta Braves is doing work, and that's what the Padres are right now against Atlanta. Rocket, thank you again for the super, guys. If you are here, please subscribe, and if you are here, thank you for the super chats. Just click the $sign below the chat box. He says Diaz first out is the reason they keep him around. That was a terrific play, kind of a swinging bunt that started foul but ended up fair down the third base line. I thought he had no chance as that ball caromed fair to make a play on the runner. I just didn't see any scenario where that was going to happen. And I think it was the catcher running there? Was it Sean Murphy potentially that was running there? Because if that's like an Albies, if that's an Acuna, there's no way you're gonna be able to throw him out in that spot. But you're right. When you think about the ninth inning, all of the attention is going to be on the Eli White play and what happened there. Truly, what happened? I think we'll be asking ourselves that for a long time. And I have a quote from Eli White that I can read to you coming up that he said post game. Imagine being in his shoes. Like, that's a terrible situation, obviously, to be in. But again, with a faster runner, you're probably not getting him. And the inning looks completely different if not for Diaz. So, yes, we'll remember the inning in the game maybe as the Eli White game a little bit, or the Manny Machado game. I don't think we're going to remember it as the Elias Diaz throw game. But, if that throws a split second later, or he throws it down the right field line, which is easy to do on a play like that, where you field, spin, and throw all in one motion. If not for that play, there's a very good chance they don't win this game. Because if it's first and second, nobody out, and then you get the single up the box right there, who even knows what it looks like at that point? Maybe there's still the base running gaff. Maybe there isn't. But I mean, you could have easily lost that game in the bottom of the ninth inning if not for that play by Diaz, and then of course if not for the base running error as well by White. But I'm glad you brought that up, Rocket, because I have it in my notes here tonight, and it was a big part of it. Again, there were a lot of parts of it here tonight. None bigger, obviously, than Manny Machado, who individually, as a player, needed it. Did have 2 hits here today. He is hitting 309 on the year, but in that 1-1 game, and to do it again off the Braves closer. Now, the closer this year, Iglesias, he hasn't been as good as he was, in recent history. And he has struggled. He's blown some saves this year. They bring him on in a non-save situation, which is the right thing to do as the home team in a tie game in that spot. And Machado had no success against him, but he left that slider. I thought it was not a bad pitch. I don't know if it was a perfect pitch, but it was over the plate and low. But Manny was able to do what Manny can do, right? Like, there's a lot of hitters in baseball that aren't going to make Iglesias pay with that exact same pitch, but Machado's fully capable of doing it, even though we've only seen it, a few times this year. So that was huge. And then to preserve the lead, because remember yesterday, they tie the game up in the 9th inning. They take a lead in the 10th inning, and Toronto ties it up. They take a lead in the 11th inning. 1 pitch later, it's a tie game, and then another pitch later, they lose the game or whatever it was. To get a lead and hold it in that spot after the way the last 6 games have played out is just so significant, obviously, for the Padres, who, in this game didn't have a lot of opportunities to score. They were 0 for 2 with men in scoring position. We know that's been a theme where they've struggled with men in scoring position. They barely had any opportunities. They didn't have a ton of base runners in this game, and they just needed a spark. They needed someone to come through. They had a chance in the 8th inning with a runner on second. Iglesias couldn't come through. And then in the 9th, Manny just said, screw this. Kind of like Gavin Sheets said, screw this yesterday, although that wasn't enough. And, I thought Sheets obviously getting you even after the Acuna home run was massive. And to do it lefty on lefty against Chris Sale, I mean, Gavin Sheets has to play against everyone. I don't care if it's a lefty or righty. Figure it out. If he's got to be in the field, put him in the field. He's a liability at first. He's a liability in left, but his bat's too good, especially when you're not scoring. So he's got to be in there every single game, left, right, ambidextrous, as I put yesterday on social media. He hits the huge home run, and that's all your offense once again until Manny provides the rest of the offense. In addition, and we need to talk about Nick Pivetta, who gets lost a little bit in this because Pivetta throws over 100 pitches. He strikes out 7 in 6 innings. He allows a leadoff home run to a team that's lost 6, on a team that's lost 6 straight with the return of Ronald Acuna Jr. That thing can get sidetracked quick. Like, the odds of you going 6 innings allowing just 1 run when the first pitch you throw is a solo home run, the odds have to be 1 in 1,000 at that point against a good team in their park. That's not going to be easy against an Atlanta lineup that has the return of Acuna and Austin Riley and Matt Olson and Marcelo Zuna, right? I mean, there's some good hitters in that lineup, veteran hitters, Verdugo, Murphy, right? And to pitch the way he did, Pavetta's been awesome. And Preller deserves a lot of credit for the creativity of that deal, where I think technically a 4-year deal, but they know they'll have him for a couple of years. And, you look at Pavetta's year and he's got 2.72 ERA. He's been as good as any of these starters this year. And it's a good thing he has with the absence of Yu Darvish and the way this team has played over the last week. It's a good thing that Nick Pivetta was able to stop the bleeding, right? Like good starters are able to do, right? Like, momentum is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher, and that's what was proven here tonight by Nick Pivetta. And then Adrian Morejon. I think Jeremiah Estrada was down in this game and wasn't going to throw and wasn't available. Adrian Morejon, not just a really good 7th inning, a really good 8th inning, 5 up and 5 down before they went to Jason Adam to get, I think, Marcelo Ozuna there to end the 8th inning when Ozuna flied out. But Adrian Morejon, that was as good as he's been in relief this year. in just a critical spot. And again, the bullpen has let this team down a little bit after that remarkable start, right? 30 games into the year, the Padres had the best bullpen in baseball, maybe historically good for 30 games, came completely back to earth, 10-run inning at Yankee Stadium, maybe a blown save or two in there, couldn't hold late leads at Yankee Stadium in back-to-back games. And Adrian Morejon with Estrada down, needing to go an inning plus on the road against a good team in a 1-1 game. And then Jason Adams. So the strength of this team is its pitching. The formula, we know. You're going to ride your starter hopefully to 5+ innings, and then you have enough with Morejon, Estrada, Adam, Suarez. You like to think in a tie game or with a 1-run lead or something like that, you're going to be able to win those games at a ridiculously high clip. And by and large, that's who the Padres have been this year. Without this strong bullpen, they're nowhere near 8 games over 500, right? If this bullpen was an average bullpen, this is probably an average team. But because of King Cease, Pivetta, because of this bullpen, this has led the way, right? This is not some high slug team. Yes, they hit 2 home runs here today, but this has only been an average offense this year. It's been a below average lineup in terms of hitting for power so far this year. But the formula is pretty simple to me. It's going to be starting pitching. It's going to be the bullpen. It's going to be preserving leads. It's going to be winning close games. And that's what they were able to do here today in Atlanta, winning 2-1. So I do want to remind you about our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz, here on the wrap-up show. If you are here, 200 of you are here live right now. Many more will be here on replay. Please subscribe. We're on our way to 8,500 subscribers. All we need is for you to subscribe to the channel. And thank you for the super chats. I'm going to get to all of them. I'm not keeping up with the chat because I'm doing this solo show. I see a super that just came in from Luke. So thank you, Luke, for that super chat. If you want to support the channel, please click the $ below the chat box. We'll get to all of the super chats here tonight. Do want to remind you about our title sponsor here on the wrap-up show, Mark Nimitz, who has been texting with me and Jim throughout the course of the week as the Padres have lost 6 straight. He's been on this channel since day 1 of the channel. That's 4 years ago, folks. We've been doing the wrap-up show for 6 years across the radio and YouTube. And Mark's a great insurance agent, and you can take that directly from me. I have 3 insurance policies through Mark, me and my family. We've had them for years. I've got homeowners, I've got life, I have earthquake. And I had to file a claim through homeowners in 2022, and he saved us so much time and money because we had a flood in here. We were out of our house for a couple of weeks, and he took care of everything. And if you ever need him, he's going to be there for you as well. So if you need an insurance agent, whether it's auto or home or renters or life or earthquake, whatever it is, get in contact with Mark. Click the link in the description down below. He'll give you a free quote online. You can call him. He'll talk to you about the Padres. I promise you that. He's a diehard Padres fan. He's a native San Diegan. Again, he's been a supporter of this channel since day 1. So if you support our work, please get in contact with our title sponsor before you renew with your current insurance agent. Get in contact with Mark Nimitz. Supports the channel, diehard Padres fan, title sponsor of the wrap-up show. Click the link in the description down below. All right, John Schaefer with you here on the wrap-up show. Padres win in Atlanta 2-1. And let's continue with the super chats here tonight. Luke, thank you, man, for the super. He says, I think Arise is a good first baseman. Defensive metrics say Manny isn't as good as what we see. The Arise defensive criticism is based on the same metrics. I think some of that, Luke, is fair. I do. I'm not going to disagree with that because I think a lot of that is probably accurate because we're watching and the analytics aren't watching, right? They're analytic based. They're metric. They're numerical. We have eyes. So it is different. And to some extent, I do agree with that. With that being said, as much baseball as you and I both watch, and we're watching Padres opponents each and every day too, I think Arise probably is an average first baseman. Maybe that's a little high, truthfully. I don't think he's a horrid first baseman, but I don't think I know he's not an elite defensive first baseman because, again, he's a little atypical with his size. He doesn't have good range. I think his glove has been good, truthfully, and his awareness and headsiness was terrific tonight in the 9th inning. So I completely agree with that. In terms of Machado, I'm with you. I mean, the eye test would tell you that Manny Machado for a decade has been as good as it gets. Now, I think he has come back to earth this year. I mean, we've been watching. He's had some really poor defensive games, Manny, and he's been off his feet a little bit also over the last couple of years. He's had the elbow. He missed some time at third to start last year because of the elbow. I think he's a very good defensive third baseman. You're not going to catch me criticizing Manny's defense by and large, but on this road trip, he did have a 3-error game. So, and he makes brilliant plays. That's the one thing about Manny. He makes spectacular plays look really easy. And that's why I'm always surprised when he makes, a gaffe defensively, especially on like a routine play. And he had a couple of those in Toronto that he didn't play. But I think your general take and assessment I agree with, which is obviously Machado's a good defensive third baseman, arguably an excellent defensive third baseman. And I think Arise is a fine defensive first baseman. Nothing spectacular, nothing pretty. You can absolutely get away with it. Yeah, but you're right. Like, is he costing the Padres games at first? No. Like, Gavin Sheets is not a good defensive player, right? He's a liability. We saw it in Toronto. He has 5 RBIs in the game with 2 home runs, but he butchers a ball at first that leads to 2 runs for the Blue Jays. That was also the difference between winning and losing. And then I go back to that game at Petco where he gets turned around in left field, and they shouldn't have him playing left field. That's more on the organization and the Padres than it is on Sheets. But I go back to that play, and Sheets has got to be in the lineup. I say that, but then again, you got to get guys off their feet sometimes too. So when Manny has a stretch of 13 consecutive games, you're going to DH him at some point. When the Padres are playing 22 games in 23 days, you're going to DH Luis Arraez, right? You're going to get some guys off their feet. You don't have the youngest roster in baseball. When you have Manny and Xander in there, they're going to get off their feet sometimes. They're going to get some day offs here and there as well. But I mean, Gavin Sheets has to play. It's as simple as that. He's hit 9 home runs. He has been a huge anchor in their lineup. He's been a big part of their overall success this year. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts, right? I mean, he's just got to be in there for the Padres. And thankfully he was today because, again, without Sheets, without Machado, the Padres aren't winning this game here today. Here's the quote from Eli White that Kevin had post-game in the UT tonight, Kevin Acee. He says, I just got confused for whatever reason when I saw third base coach Matt Tuiasosopo throw his hands up. It was a terrible mistake in a big situation, so it's just a tough one to swallow. Like, we all can relate to being in a situation where you get confused. I mean, even if it's your line of work, right? There's just those moments that play out. I mean, I do like live YouTube shows or live radio, and there's things that play out. There are dynamics that play at times where you can obviously make mistakes. I mean, I've done it a zillion times in my line of work. Jim, believe it or not, has made mistakes before. And I'm sure most people, even in their craft or specialty or profession, have made mistakes, even big ones, right? That's kind of a part of life. And Eli White, again, to me, I don't understand how it can happen, but part of me kind of does. I mean, you just get in a spot where, I don't know if things just like, you just kind of blank. You're just unaware for whatever reason. I mean, he responded immediately to Tuiasosopo. So clearly the Braves with the 2-hand signal up means you're getting back. Now he was already at third, and that's why I thought Tuiasosopo put his hands up. I think technically what the third base coach should be doing with the hands up is waiting for the runner to touch third. He's putting his hands up as if to say, stop and don't go home. And he put his hands up before the runner reached third. But I mean, the runner was he 5 feet away from third? I don't think he was more than 5 feet. It may have been less. It may have been 6 feet. It wasn't more than that. It wasn't 40 feet. It wasn't 30 feet. I don't think it was 20 feet. And truthfully, I don't even think it was 10 feet. So it was just confusion, right? It was just signals crossed. And sometimes certain things are inexplicable and unexplainable. And that's what it was here tonight. And again, from a Padres perspective, it's all good. If this happened against the Padres tonight, let's spin this the other way. Let's say the opposite happened tonight in Atlanta, where the exact same thing played out and the Padres lost 2-1. I get it's different home road in terms of, top of the inning, bottom of the inning. I mean, it's all we would talk about for 24 hours and even more than that. I mean, I would be vilifying the Padres, and we'd be talking about the third base coach, Tim Leeper. We'd be talking about their signs. We'd be talking about how could this happen. We'd be talking about everything. We'd be talking about the runner. We'd be talking about the losing streak. So like some of me, I sympathize because we've seen, if you've been watching the Padres over the last decade or more, you've seen everything. And so you get it. You've been on the right side of things over the years. You've been on the wrong side of things over the years. So, I can only imagine what we would be saying if the opposite thing occurred tonight and the Braves were the beneficiary and the Padres were the ones that made the boneheaded play. But thankfully that didn't happen. And, hopefully the Padres will get some more good fortune in the days ahead as well. Sometimes good teams have good fortune. And the Padres, I think are a good team despite their struggles. I think they are a good team. And I know they had good fortune in this game. And they had some, it's not just fortune. Pivetta wasn't fortune. Machado's not luck. Sheets isn't luck. So they had more than just good fortune, but it played a role. It absolutely played a role in this game. Todd, appreciate you, man. Thank you for the super, guys. If you are here, we are approaching 8,500 subscribers. I'm doing a solo show. I would appreciate it, guys, if you did subscribe. I'm going to take a look right now. 20 subscribers away from 8,500. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing, if you're here live or on replay, just know that I appreciate it. So thank you. We have year-round content for Padres fans in season and out of season. And thank you for the super chats. Do appreciate them. You can click that $ below the chat box, like Retod, who says, would we say Arise is a better defensive first baseman than Hosmer? I'd say he is. Yeah. Well, here's why I would say that. Here's what I would say about that. It's all about perspective is what I would say. And the reason I say that is I was sold on Hosmer being an elite defensive first baseman, and he was nowhere near that level in his time in a Padres uniform. Like, he underperformed expectations, where I think Arise has probably exceeded the expectations of him being a poor defensive player. And I think maybe they meet in the middle, truthfully, where I didn't think Hosmer was a good defensive player. And, I think Arise probably got a bad rap as being a bad defensive player, and he's played better than that. But it's about not perspective. I said perspective. I think it's more about expectations. My expectations were Eric Hosmer was going to be a vacuum, and he was going to be as good as it gets defensively at first. He might have been in Kansas City. He was not in San Diego. And my expectations for Arise were like, can you even play this guy in the field? I know his bat plays everywhere, but, is this guy going to be a liability because they've moved him off second base? So I agree with your point. I think it's about expectations, and my expectations for Arise weren't overly high defensively, and my expectations for Hosmer were overly high defensively because he had to make up for some of his offensive inefficiencies with his defensive performances, and we didn't see that, unfortunately, in his time in a Padres uniform. So I kind of like that angle, Rita, and I'm with you. I don't think Luis Arise has been, quote unquote, worse than Eric Hosmer. I mean, has he been drastically better than Eric Hosmer? Might be a conversation as well. But yeah, I agree with that overall sentiment that Luis Arise has been, again, like I said earlier, I think he's been fine. I think he's been fine at first base. And fine works when you're hitting 330 and winning batting titles. And when you're on base 3 times in the game and you're driving in runs and you're causing havoc, which is who he is and who he's capable of being. And he's a huge part of their lineup. And without him, they're already going through struggles. Without Luis Arise, I don't even know how you navigate that, because when, they've been going through it, guys. I mean, Merrill, Tatis, Machado, heading into tonight, these guys have been going through it. Truly going through it in a tough way. So without Luis Arise, you can only imagine what it's not just 7 games, by the way. I mean, you look at the Padres, I think are they 14-18 in their last 32 games, including tonight, something like that. It might be worse than that. And so they have struggled. They have not played well since their 14-3 start. Their offense has been lacking. So Luis Arise is a big part of hopefully getting this team back on track, is what I would say. So whatever the defense is the defense. Just like Gavin Sheets, whatever the defense is the defense. You need Sheets' bat. You need Arise's bat. And that hopefully will get this team going offensively. Retod, thank you, man. He says, oh, I appreciate that. He says, also, that's my favorite Padre hat, the one I'm wearing right now. This isn't even technically a Padre hat. This is from, there was a young woman that was down there opening day, and I think she's down there a lot. It's called Smashing Designs. You guys know me. I have you have to see my closet. How many Padres hats do I have? 60. And whether it's Parks and Normal, Billion Creations, Smashing Designs, there's so many good spots. There's so many good spots for Padres fans. I mean, and there's so many great designs. But I just took a liking to this. I love trucker hats. Truthfully, I don't wear them a lot anymore, but I love trucker hats, the way they fit. And I picked up one in Aztec colorway as well. So I appreciate you saying that. But check them out. Just a plug for Smashing Designs, because I met her when we were down there opening day, and they're doing good work. She's doing really cool work. So make sure to check them out. I'm sure they have a website and an Instagram, so make sure to check them out. I'm going to get back to the conversation. Let me take a sip here. I'm at, me on brand, little Nova kombucha. I'm telling you, man, I don't know what I would have said tonight, guys, if they didn't win this game. I really don't. I do not know what I would have said tonight. I would have been concerned, really concerned, because at some point it had to end. That's been my general point. It doesn't mean that you have a must-win game in May. There is no such thing. But it does mean that you cannot lose 9 or 10 or 11 consecutive games and feel at all good about your chances moving forward. Because there's very few teams that we just lost 10 consecutive games and had a good year. Like, that's inexplicable. And there are some concerns I have about some of their more recent play. And by more recent, I mean over the last month. I mean, they've had a 30-inning scoreless streak, followed by a 27-inning scoreless streak. They had an 0 for 39 with runners in scoring position, snapped yesterday in the 10th inning by Luis Ariz. I mean, there have been some really bad indicators, and we've been asking ourselves, where are they going to turn as adversity strikes? Who is going to get them out of this? There is no Jurickson Profar on this team anymore. So who is going to help lift this team out of this rut? And I guess the answer today was a combination of players, whether it was Pivetta, the bullpen, Sheets, Machado, the defensive play by Ariz and Diaz. And that's a good thing to say, because I was saying, hey, just one player pick this team up and just take matters into your own hands and just go single-handedly win a game for this team. But the truth is, good teams aren't won single-handedly by any one player. And I thought that was shown tonight by the Padres. This was a series of players. This wasn't some Gavin Sheets 5 RBI night or a Nick Pivetta shutout in a 2-0 win. I mean, this took a series of events to play out, and I kind of like saying that. And they did it, again, against a good team on the road with the odds stacked against them. They were plus 175 maybe in this game. Atlanta was minus 175. So San Diego's plus 145, plus 155. Like, this was not a good matchup. Yeah, Pavetta's been really good, but he hadn't been as good on the road. Sale in his career against the Padres is 4-0 with a sub-2 ERA. Like, this wasn't the game you say, oh, here it is. I mean, we've been waiting for Chris Sale in Atlanta against a 15-7 Braves team at home. Like, that's not what you were waiting for. I mean, that did not scream win, but again, good teams find ways. And, we could argue how good they are. I get it. I get it. I watched them lose 6 straight. I've watched them play 13-18 baseball or whatever it was over 31 games. So they haven't been the best team in baseball. I know that, but they certainly haven't been the worst team in baseball. And sometimes we lose, what's the saying? Like, you got to see the forest through the trees. You get so, I don't even know, closed-minded, recency bias on it. You're like, man, this team isn't the 20. They're 27-21, but they're not really. That's not how they're playing. But it doesn't matter how they're playing. At the end of the season, the wins are the wins and the losses are the losses. It doesn't matter when they happen. You can win your first 100 and lose your last 62. You're 162. Or you could win your first 62 and lose your last 100. You're 62 and 100. I get it. That's an extreme example, but you understand my point. You can be hot going into the postseason and win a World Series. You can be cold going into a postseason and win a World Series. Padres were the hottest team in baseball last year heading into the postseason. They didn't make it out of the second round. So it's not linear. It's hard to explain. It's baseball. And at the end of the day, this team is now, what did I tell you they were? 28-21. That's pretty good. Again, have they been better this year than that? Yeah, I mean, they have a 571 winning percentage. It's good. It's not perfect. Hopefully they can build off tonight and win this series in Atlanta. And then you get home and, you see Miami and Pittsburgh, and, hopefully they have some opportunities that they can take advantage of as they do head home. I'm going to get to these super chats that are coming in. I'm also going to tell you about one of our partners here on the wrap-up show, our friends over at SeatGeek. Here's the deal. They have hooked you up, all right? SeatGeek has hooked you up with a $20 off your first order promotion, all right? Use promo code PODSWRAP, that's PADSWRAP. You're getting $20 off your tickets at SeatGeek, your first order of $50 or more. You heard me right. $20 off your first purchase with promo code PADSWRAP, that's PODSWRAP. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. We do want to thank SeatGeek. They are the MLB official ticket marketplace. And let me show you this, for example. All right. So on screen right now, you can see the SeatGeek website. So Padres are coming home next week, and you can pick up a pair of tickets in section 214 for $50 each, including fees. Like, look at those seats. Look at this view. That's $50 each, including fees. Plus, you use the PODSWRAP promo code. You're taking $20 off your first order. You're getting into Petco Park Memorial Day for $80. for a pair of tickets with fees, like that to me is a pretty good deal. That's available right now at SeatGeek. So you can see everything here. You can get them for less, by the way. 300 level. Look at that. $37 each, including fees. What is that? $74 for 2 tickets, minus $20 with the promo code. $54 to watch the Padres at home next week to kick off Memorial Day weekend. That's a really, really good deal. So click the link in the description down below. Make sure to use the promo code. And we thank SeatGeek again for the support of the channel here on the wrap-up show. So thank you, SeatGeek, again for your support. All right, let's reset. Padres, again, win here today in Atlanta 2-1. They'll play game 2 of this series tomorrow at 1:05, 1:10 Pacific. It'll be Michael King on the mound for the Padres. So Michael King, Grant Holmes is the pitching matchup. Holmes a righty. King, Holmes, the matchup on Saturday. And then Sunday, again, the series is going to wrap up on Sunday. And let's see, that's also a 1:10 Pacific start. And that's going to be Dylan Cease opposite Schwellenbach, who's had a very good year. Okay. Let's get back to some of these super chats. And guys, if you are here again, trying to get to 8,500 subscribers with your help. And we are just about 20 subscribers away from that. So we appreciate you. The Beef, thank you, man. He says, rather slump now than brutal June win the series. I'm glad you mentioned that because we've touched on this on both the wrap-up show and also on John and Jim. I mean, it is brutal from a scheduling perspective. That does not mean their play will be brutal or they won't be able to win at a decent clip, but it feels like the Padres will have to do work to play over 500 baseball in June, and they'll need to maybe play their best baseball of the season to do that. I mean, there's a stretch that begins after the upcoming homestand where 14 of 17 are on the road, and the only 3 at home are the Dodgers. So there's a 17-game stretch with 1 off day in there, by the way, that is at Giants for 4, at Brewers for 3, home to the Dodgers, off day, at Arizona for 3, at LA Dodgers for 4. That really is on paper a brutal 17-game stretch where you can, see where it would be tough to go, 9-8 in those 17 games, or maybe even 8-9 in those 17 games. And that's why it was so important here, especially with Miami and Pittsburgh coming up, and maybe even this weekend against Atlanta. Like the Beef just said, maybe, you take 2 out of 3 here, you get home, maybe you go 4-2, 5-1. I mean, you kind of want to get greedy. I know they're not playing well, but hopefully they can turn it back around. And because if you go 5-1 against Miami and Pittsburgh, that affords you the opportunity to not play perfectly in that 17-game gauntlet. But if you go 3-3 against Miami and Pittsburgh and you lose this series, and I mean, you're coming back towards 500, and 500 is going to be right in front of you potentially with those 17 games that you would have coming up in early June. So I think it's a good point. The good news is they gave themselves a little bit of a cushion based on the way they started by getting off to that 14-3 start, that they don't have to be perfect, and they haven't been in May, and they might not have to be perfect in June either. You know how quickly we forget they were 50-50 a year ago at one point. Now you can't bank on them going 43-19 down the stretch either, because that's happened once in the history of the franchise. They've never been 43-19 over 62 games or longer. They've never played at that winning percentage, including 1984, 1998, ever, except last year. So you can't bank on that. And the reason I'm not banking on that is I hope they're in a better position after 100 games. They don't have to go 43-19. If you get to the 100-game mark, and I don't think this is asking the world, if they're 10 games over 500 at the 100-game mark, they're 55-45. You don't have to go 43-19, right? Then all of a sudden, in your final 60-something games, you can go, I'm making this up, 35-27 and still win 90 games and potentially navigate your way into the postseason. So it's important to stay in front of it, so to speak, to keep distance from 500, to stay 8, 10, 12 games over 500 if possible, because you can't expect this team to go 43-19 to end the year, because you can't expect any team to play 43-19 over a 62-game stretch. So I think it's a good super, the Beef, and it's a good point. And yeah, it is May. So you're right. I mean, you don't have to be playing your best baseball right now. You'd prefer not to play your worst, and they have played poorly. But the season is not on the line, and there's so much baseball in front of all of these teams, including the Padres. They have 113 games left, folks. We're 2 months away, more than 2 months. We're more than 2 months away from the trade deadline. So, on one hand, you're upset based on the way that they've played over the last few weeks. Understandably so. Understandably so. On the other hand, you realize that they're playing better than they were a year ago at this time. And you also consider the dynamics of play, which is 3 wild card teams. Other teams are going to go through, slides as well. There's an ebb and flow to this that plays out. And hopefully the Padres can, again, maintain a situation where they stay 8, 10, 12 games over 500. Shoot, you're only a good week away from, maybe being 12 plus games over 500. You go 0-6 over a 6-game stretch. Maybe they go 5-1 over a 6-game stretch. And all of a sudden you're back to, 10, 12, 13 games over 500. MBs, thank you for the super chat, guys. If you are here, please subscribe, and thank you for the super chat. Just click that $sign below the chat box. Padres over the Braves tonight, 2-1 in Atlanta. 6-game losing skid is over, the longest for the Padres since June of 2023. MB says, how many batting titles for Arise to make the Hall of Fame? You want to have the Arise Hall of Fame conversation with me? I always love that type of question. Here's the thing. I've looked up his numbers within the last, 6 weeks, because I love this type of conversation. I mean, he's nowhere close. Now I know he's young enough. So he's 28. Like, first of all, the thing I look at first is how many total hits does he have in his career, right? Because that you're going to need a massive number of hits, even as a batting champion, to get consideration, especially in modern baseball where the game's predicated on power. But he hasn't even had 900 career hits. Isn't that hard to believe? A guy that has won 3 batting titles does not have 900 career hits, but that is true. He has 899. So hopefully tomorrow he surpasses 900. He's had 200 hits in the season 2 times. He's won 3 batting titles. He's done it with 3 different teams. This is unprecedented. But that alone, that's more of a fun fact than something that puts you on a fast track to Cooperstown. I don't think he's anywhere close. I think it would take something like, he's 28. Yeah, he's going to have to play till he's 40. He's going to have to compile 2,750 hits, and he's going to have to win, I don't even know how many batting crowns, 6+ batting crowns to garner consideration. Because again, the game, like, he doesn't do the things today that are appreciated in the game like they were in 1974 and 1984. Right? I mean, he's a guy that in his career has an OPS under 800, who has hit 30 career home runs. He's hit 30 career home runs. And again, that's not his fault. He's not supposed to be hitting home runs. That's not the purpose of his play, but you understand the point. Like, when you have someone that is under consideration, like, what's he hanging his hat on? He's hanging his hat on his offense, but you have to compile. Like, you're going to have 2,500 plus hits to get anywhere near consideration, and he is nowhere near that. And it'll be interesting to see how he ages as well. I mean, I think his bat's going to play. I mean, the guy's bat is as good as it gets. His bat on ball skills are, they're good. I'm not saying they're Tony Gwynn good, but they're good. And for modern baseball, they're as good as it gets. So, I mean, maybe there'll be a case to be made at some point if we look up in a half decade or a decade, maybe someone's going to be making that case, but it's going to start with compiling 200 hit seasons, continuing to compile 200 hit seasons, rack up more batting titles. You're going to have to basically force your way into consideration. But someone's going to have to say, wow, this guy won 6 batting crowns. Wow, this guy's got 2,800 hits. Wow, this guy's career batting average is, I'm making it up, what is it right now? His career batting average is 321, which is absurd, especially for today's baseball with specialized pitching coming out of the bullpen and all the high velocity guys. So, nobody's hitting 338 like Tony. I mean, can you finish your career at 313 or above? Something like it's going to be really hard to do. But anyway, it's a long-winded way of me saying I think he's a long way away. Is it out of the question? I'd say no, it's not out of the question, but is it unlikely? In my opinion, the answer is yes. In my opinion, it's unlikely. For me, I would argue between extremely unlikely and unlikely, but I think that could change. We got to give it a lot of time. I mean, he's going to have to blow by 2,000 hits, and that's going to play out over hopefully the next 6 years, something like that. But fun question. I love that question. What do you guys think? Put it in the chat. I mean, Arise one day in Cooperstown? Yeah or nah? What do you guys think? I think it's a great question. I love those hypotheticals. Thank you. Eric, appreciate you, man. You became a member of the channel. You can get custom emojis, by the way. When you're a member, You get emojis like those, like a Jackson Merrill emoji. You guys use it in the chat. Those of you that are members, we probably have 50 or 60 members right now in the channel. And when you're a member, you get the emojis that you can use to interact in the chat. You get some badges as well that update like month to month or year to year, which is pretty cool. We can provide you with some other content as well through the membership. So we appreciate it when you guys become members. You just click that join button down below, and you'll get those custom emojis that you can use whenever we have a wrap-up show, which is basically each and every night during the season. So thank you, Eric, for becoming a member and clicking that join button down below. While we have a moment, I do want to remind you about our friends over at Mova Globes. Pick one of these up with baseball season in full swing. These are officially licensed by Major League Baseball. They have all 30 teams, including the Padres, obviously. You're seeing it spin right in front of my face right now. And this is a great, great gift idea for the baseball fan in your life. They're terrific. I mean, we've had these for a couple of years. My son loves them. My wife thinks they're terrific. It's awesome for a home or work office. It's an amazing gift idea for the baseball fan in your life. Like, what are you going to get your brother, your sister, or your friend, or whomever, right? This is a great gift idea. They spin automatically with artificial or natural light. There are no cords. There are no batteries. There are no wires. And the company is based in San Diego, and the technology was invented in North County, right here, actually in Cardiff by the sea. So terrific company. You can click the link in the description down below and get 10% off. Use promo code PWS10 and get 10% off. You heard me right. Promo code PWS10. Click that link in the description down below and get 10% off. We do thank Mova Globes for the support of the channel. Pick one up for the baseball fan in your life and use that promo code PWS10. All right, what else, guys, have we missed on here? I'm trying to think. I had Kevin Acee on today. The Yu Darvish conversation's ongoing. They're basically waiting on you to get more clarity there. Just taking a sip. Give me one moment. Good question, Luke, on the Mova Globes. Do they spin the other way in Australia? Maybe. Potentially. Not sure. T. Kelly wants to know where I'm getting chicken tomorrow. Yeah, I got chicken yesterday because I said if the Padres were shut out in game 2 of the series against Gausman in Toronto, I'm like, they're not getting shut out. Their career numbers against Gausman are ridiculous. They got shut out. I said I would eat chicken if they got shut out. I haven't eaten chicken in 12 years. I haven't had meat in 12 years. But because the Padres' ineptitude on offense, I had to have a chicken strip from Dave's Hot Chicken. It was amazing. And would you know, 24 hours later, the Padres win. So maybe I need to eat more chicken. Maybe that's the moral of the story. Or maybe Jim just needs to go to Hawaii, which is where he is right now, or on his way to Hawaii actually in the morning. What was I going to say? Anyway, the update on Darvish is there is no update. Is he going to need a rehab start now that he's going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days between his rehab start and his next outing? I don't even know. I'm not crossing my fingers for the immediate return of Yu Darvish, but who knows? Maybe it'll be at some point soon. Maybe it's going to take a few weeks or longer. But the update is there's no update on Yu Darvish, unfortunately. But I do know that he's going to play a role for this team, or hopefully he plays a role for this team, because I think for them to reach their ceiling, Yu Darvish is a part of it, because I watched him last year like we all did in the postseason, and he was really good. He's been good in his career against the Dodgers. Veteran pitcher with over 200 career professional wins. You want Yu Darvish on the mound, and hopefully they'll get him on the mound sooner rather than later. Sunriser, appreciate you, man, with the very generous super. Really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. He says, nice to win again, and was good to see it at Petco. The movie Under the Stars is a cool event. The Padres do. The kids love it. I didn't realize that was going on. I might have to check that out with my 6-year-old. That is super cool to be at Petco when the Padres are in Atlanta. And yeah, it's just nice to win again, to your point, right? It's like you kind of forget, like, what is it going to take to win? Like when everything's going right, you feel like you're going to win every game. And when everything's going wrong, you feel like it's impossible to win. And we've seen that within 2 months. When they were 14-3, I'm like, this team is completely rolling. Like, they've got everything they need, right? With their top 4 in their lineup and their rotation and their historically good bullpen to start the year. I'm like, this team's unbelievable. And then you watch them against Seattle and Toronto, and you're like, where is the 14-3 team? What happened to the Padres we saw just 5 or 6 weeks ago? So you get a little bit of everything over 162 with most teams. Again, I go back to like There's usually one or two teams in the regular season that just cruise and win 105 games. There's one or two teams that are historically bad this year, being Colorado. And then there's like the other 27, 28 teams that have ebbs and flows and highs and lows. And the Padres historically have that every year. I mean, they've never had a team win 100 games in a season. Like, consider that. They've never had a team win 100 games in a season. So it's never easy. Even in 98, there was a lengthy losing streak in there late. So it's never, again, easy. And that includes last year. 93 wins, awesome finish, but we questioned that team for a lot of the year. 4 or 5 game losing streaks, under 500 in June, 50-50 after the All-Star break, blown out in the first game after the All-Star break, the fall to 50-50, and then they just completely took off. So you just don't know how 162 plays out. You like to think that this team with this roster, with this payroll, with this manager will have enough to get to the postseason, right? I mean, that's what we're all hoping for initially. Like, are they going to have enough to get to the postseason? And then from there, you get greedier. Hey, can they vie in this division? Can they not just make the postseason, but make a run in the postseason? They've won some series. We've watched it. 2020, 2022, they won 2 series. 2024, they made the NLDS. So they've had a level of success in the postseason, but we're still all waiting for that breakthrough year. But again, over the 162, it's like we get so insular. We get so much recency bias that I talked about earlier that you kind of forget that you got to like widen the aperture sometimes. Like you when you don't do it and you're like, this team's awful. This team will never win again. That's not accurate, obviously. And things change, dynamics change, and we'll see how they respond to winning tonight. This doesn't mean they're out of it, and it doesn't mean they're not. We don't know because nobody can predict the future. So we don't know if they're quote unquote out of it. We don't know if they're in it, but we're going to find out. I know that in the days ahead. So again, I'm encouraged based on tonight. I'm not, celebrating a postseason spot or telling you that they're going to be in the World Series based on what happened here tonight. But I'm also not near as concerned as maybe I was over the course of the last handful of days because they are 28-21 at the end of the day. And they have, knock on wood, gotten healthier. And they do hope to, at some point, hopefully get Yu Darvish back. And they still have the makings of a team that can win at a good clip with everything that we've talked about, with the top 4 in their lineup. Again, it's not a perfect lineup. It isn't. They're going to need to upgrade in some areas at some point, and I think AJ Preller will. But the rotation coupled with the bullpen, I think will give them a chance to win at a good enough clip to keep them in contention, hopefully, for a good portion of the year. Hopefully upgrades coming in July. Hopefully they can stay healthy. Hopefully they continue to play well at Petco Park, where they've been by and large good this year, despite getting swept twice by American League teams in Tampa and Seattle. Still, you look up, their record at home is good. So you hope all those things. You hope for all of those things. Sunriser, man, appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much for supporting the channel here tonight. Thank you guys all for hanging out tonight. Please subscribe, and thank you again for your support of the channel. I see another member is rolling in. Who else wants to join some of these new members? Click the join button down below. Live a little. Friday night, solo wrap-up show. Get the custom emojis and the badges. MBs, thank you, man, for becoming a member. I'll pull it up in a moment, but appreciate you guys becoming members here on this Friday night. Sunriser, thank you again for your support. Very generous. He says, holy sheets has been fun. Thoughts on left field? I want to say Preller was asked about left field earlier today, and I don't think there's any real answers here. I've thought about it a good amount in terms of what a platoon looks like. The platoon hasn't worked, obviously. I don't think anyone has put themselves in position to play the position every day. I don't think they have an everyday left fielder, truthfully. Sunriser, thank you for becoming a member, by the way. Who wants to join Sunriser in becoming a member right now? We appreciate it. That's awesome. Awesome stuff, guys. Appreciate that. I think it's external is ultimately going to be the solution. And I think it's probably weeks, if not months away, because it's hard to make sizable upgrades in May. Traditionally, across the sport, AJ Preller's a bit of a unicorn, has done it, like with Luis Ariz, or even with like a Dylan Cease last year in his rotation, right, to start the year. I think you need a regular as opposed to a platoon. And I just think that what's going on right now is you're hoping for productivity where they need more of a guarantee. So what does that look like? Well, what it looks like is higher everything. I mean, look at the OPS, combined OPS of left fielders for the Padres this year. It's sub 500. That's nowhere near good enough. You need to take that thing to 700 at a minimum, which means you're going outside to do that, because who's the answer? Oscar Gonzalez is no longer here. Tirso or Nellis, right? I mean, who is the answer? And I don't think there is an answer, unfortunately. I think it comes from outside the organization. I don't think it'll cost them everything to do it either. I think you make that upgrade in July. Even a $10 million salary, you're only paying 1/3 of that salary at the end of July for the year. So maybe you're taking on $3 million in salary. You're moving, hopefully a mid-level prospect, not a high-level prospect, in order to do that, maybe as a rental. But yeah, my opinion is they need to upgrade it. Now, I think a lot of teams have to upgrade probably. I don't think there's a lot of, perfect rosters. I'm sure there's some that are better than others. There's no question about that. And I'm sure there's rosters right now around baseball that are probably more complete than the Padres. But I do think left field is an area that they're going to look to improve on. I don't know about catcher. I mean, again, I think it starts with calling games and working with pitching staffs. And I think they're comfortable with what they've gotten out of Diaz and Maldonado in those areas. And anything else is just, additive with the offense. So I don't think that's really going to be a priority. We may differ on that opinion. We being Padres fans. Padres fans might say, where's the Higgy type catcher that can hit me 20 home runs and have an 800 OPS? I don't think that's going to be a part of the puzzle for the Padres in 2025. But I do think left field is an area that could use an upgrade. I mean, not just think, I know it. And they probably could use some more depth in general with position players. You can always upgrade your bullpen, always. They've already used, Jason Adams appeared in 24 games this year. That's not sustainable. He's not going to appear in 80 games this year coming out of the Padres bullpen. So just some 2 cents, 2 months out, over 2 months out from the trade deadline, that this much we know. If they're in contention, he will seek upgrades. All right. If they are contending, he will seek out and likely make upgrades. So they just got to be able to keep themselves in contention. And maybe that'll be a little challenging with some of the situation that's played out in left field. I think it can be overcome because they have a good team. They don't have maybe a good situation right now in left field, but I think there's enough with the lineup right now as it's constructed, and hopefully you can find a way to navigate the next, handful of weeks or more. It could be more than that, but at some point a move will present itself, whether it's in June or July or at the end of July. I think at some point a move will present itself. So long-winded, hopefully it answers it to some extent. But I don't think it's internal. I tend to believe it's more external, and I tend to believe they'll have some external options as teams look to sell when we get closer towards the deadline over the final 2 weeks of July after the All-Star break. Normally, you see most of the movement, 98% of the movement after the All-Star break. It's not overly surprising to see a significant move in June. I think it is surprising to see one in May. First couple of weeks of July, again, not overly surprising, but quasi-surprising. But once you get past the All-Star break, obviously all hands on deck. And then those last 48 hours, we always think it's the final week. It's those last 48 hours when teams really are acutely aware of where they stand. Some teams wait it out. Are we buyers or sellers? Are we standing pat? You want all the information you can collect, and then you make your determination. And that typically happens 48 hours to 72 hours before a trade deadline. I mentioned these new members. Appreciate you guys. MBs has become a member. Again, you're getting those emojis that you can use in the chat. You're supporting the channel. You're getting badges that you get as well. You're getting some additional content. So appreciate that. Sunriser, thank you as well for becoming a YouTube member here tonight, and for the super chats. If anyone wants to join this trio, Eric became a member earlier tonight. Super cool. Appreciate that. We really do, because you guys know, we're going to be here each and every night. So you can use the emojis all season long. We're going to be here each and every night for you guys. So it's a kind of a labor of love. I've said that a lot over the years. So love hanging out with you guys and interacting. The show takes on a different life each and every night. Obviously, typically it's me and Jim. It's not going to be me and Jim over the next week because he's going to be on his Hawaiian vacation. So you're going to have a lot of me, and we'll, discuss everything over the next week. And then we'll get Jim back. We'll make fun of Jim, and then he'll make fun of me, and we'll laugh and we'll cry and we'll cheer and go through all the emotions. That's the beauty of a baseball season. You get to go through all of the emotions together. And I think we've really established an awesome community over the years, and it's because of all you guys. You guys have been absolutely terrific to this channel. Without the support, we're not doing it as often as we do it. So we appreciate you guys for all the support you've had for this channel over the years. I do want to remind our viewers here tonight about this really cool offer going on right now with our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They just dropped their playoff basketball promo, and it's the extender, and you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. You can start a playoff series by using your game one boost, and that includes the NBA Finals coming up, by the way, and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. You're going to want to see how serious it gets when the game 7 hits or game 6 hits. Hop on Underdog, the best place to make picks during playoff basketball, and get started right now. In addition to that, and you can click the link in the description down below, by the way, it's so simple. It's so easy. I played Underdog tonight, actually, involving NBA playoffs and the Padres, and you can as well. It couldn't be easier or simpler, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money in a single night. I mean, a $10 wager can pay $5,000. It's incredible. And you're going to get a free gimme pick just by using promo code PODSWRAP in the description down below. Click the link, PADSWRAP. You're also getting a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. But it seriously could not be simpler. It could not be easier in terms of playing and winning. Again, it's a pick 'em. It couldn't be easier. Let me pull it up on screen real quick to just show you how easy it is. Again, NBA postseason, game 3, Western Conference Finals. Let's say you think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Minnesota scores lower than 32.5 points, and maybe you think Anthony Edwards has higher than 40.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, but then you pair it with Major League Baseball, the Padres and Braves, for example, tomorrow, and you think that Tatis is going to have higher than 8.5 fantasy points, and they lay that out for you, how you can get those points, and you think that Manny's going to have higher than 7.5 fantasy points tomorrow, and let's say you think that Acuna is going to go lower. If that happens, your $10 pays $147, and you can flex it, which means you don't even have to get all of your picks right, and you can still win up to $73. So click the link in the description down below. Play along beginning tomorrow with Padres, Braves, and NBA playoffs and more. Use that promo code PODSWRAP. That's PADSWRAP. Get the free gimme pick. That's like higher than a half plate appearance for Fernando Tatis Jr. They're giving you a pick 'em. Plus, they're giving you the 50% deposit match with promo code PODSWRAP. That is PADSWRAP. All right, guys. Hour and 8 minutes solo. Let's see. Any other? Oh, look at this. You guys are unbelievable. We'll stick around here. If you guys want to support the channel, we can stick around here for a little longer. Let me get to JD Gaucho first, and then Sunriser. I'm going to get to you. And can we get some clap emojis in the chat right now for Sunriser, who just supported with a $50 super chat? That's super cool and appreciate it. So if you guys wouldn't mind putting some clap emojis in the chat, I do appreciate that. JD Gaucho says there's been a lot of noise around Soto this week. Questions about hustling and supposedly backing out of media requests. Is it just New York media hounding him? What else played out here tonight? Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, New York can obviously be unforgiving for athletes, as I think a lot of us are aware, just watching how that plays out, that dynamic. It's not easy to succeed in New York, and there have been those that have been, superstar caliber that have fizzled out in New York. I don't know. I personally think you kind of trust in Soto to just make it all work because he's a very good. I mean, he's better than very good. He's a historically good baseball player at his best. And, he's going to get his, so to speak. And the Mets have been pretty good, have they not? What happened in the Dodger game tonight? I've been doing the show for the last hour 10. I know it was tied up. Did the Dodgers win that game? That's my assumption. I could look in the chat, but I'm just going to look at my phone. And Dodgers won that game, didn't they? They did in 13, as you guys know. I mean, the Mets are still 30-21. Now, they haven't been as good recently. They've kind of cooled off here a bit. But, I don't know. Some of it is just New York. You're not going to get the same attention, obviously, playing elsewhere. Some of it's New York. 0 for 5 tonight. He's hitting 236. I mean, he's going through it. He went through it when he got traded here. Second half of that year, he went through it. So I don't think it's just the New York media, but I do think that's a part of it. I also think they paid this player more than anyone's been paid in the history of professional sports. Therefore, the expectations are going to be higher than any player like ever, by and large. So I don't know. I mean, we saw him here firsthand. I thought there was good. There was some bad in there. he's a very good player. Is he worth $765 million? I don't think there is a player worth $765 million. I honestly believe that. He's going to have to win at a very high level and perform at a very high level. He did last year with the Yankees, but they didn't win the World Series. He hasn't been near that player to start this year. So it's a long contract. There is going to be a lot of roller coastering with Juan Soto. There's going to be a lot of commentary and opinions on Soto over the next 10 or 15 years. But I know this, he's not going anywhere. So no matter what Mets fans think or the New York media thinks or what baseball fans think, it's a relationship that's just getting started. And there's going to be good days and bad days. And, maybe we look at it like that Soto trade obviously was quasi beneficial, if not beyond that, for the Padres. Considering last year you bring in King, you win at a high level. Padres are still winning right now. They didn't have to incur that payroll. Again, I think Juan Soto makes teams better. He's proven that. He's won a World Series. He's played in another. I'm not going to, defend Juan Soto. I think I did when he was here in San Diego. I personally am a fan. But I've seen the highs and lows, like most players go through, including Juan Soto. So thank you, JD Gaucho. Sunriser, appreciate you, man. Very, very kind. Really appreciate you. He says Tanner Scott seems to have some issues the last couple of weeks, though they pulled the win. Oh, well, can't help and do scoreboard watching. Have a good night and go Padres. And John and Jim, appreciate you, man. I mean, listen, the Dodgers, like other teams, also, aren't probably perfectly constructed because of some of the starting pitching issues that they have right now. You're 100% right on Tanner Scott, who blew a save here tonight in the ninth, allowing 3 runs. Still has decent numbers, not maybe Tanner Scott-like numbers. At the end of the day, even with the Dodgers' injuries, they still have a dynamic, explosive offense, and they're 32-19. So, of course, they're the team to beat, not just in the NL West, but not just in the NL, truthfully, probably in Major League Baseball this year. But let's see how it plays out. And we do know this, that the postseason becomes the most unpredictable part. You just have to get in. We've seen the Dodgers upended. We've seen them win. We've seen the Padres beat them in 2022. We've seen the Padres blow a 2-1 lead in the best-of-5 series. We've seen a little bit of it all. And I hope we get a chance to see it again because that means the Padres are in the playoffs. So we may get a chance to see it again. We haven't seen any of the regular season meetings as of yet between the Padres and the Dodgers. So it's hard for me to have a good feel on the Dodgers. I'll have a better feel based on how they play against the Padres. They struggled in the regular season against the Padres and obviously had fits against San Diego in the postseason. Needed 5 games to win that series. So that was a hotly contested series. You've heard the Dodgers in the weeks and months since that World Series say that their stiffest competition to win a World Series was getting through the San Diego Padres. And that kind of hurts me to say because that means that if the Padres beat the Dodgers, maybe they win the World Series. Or the opportunity was right in front of the Padres last year and they just didn't cash in. But it is what it is at this point, and we're 6, 7, 8 months removed, and some of it is a distant memory. Some of it isn't. It'll get brought up again when these two teams meet in early June, and people will talk about 24 consecutive scoreless innings and about the rivalry and about the dynamics and all of it. All of it's going to be brought into the focus in the weeks ahead, and I look forward to it, truthfully. But Dodgers are a good team. I think the Padres are a good team. I have no clue how they're going to play and line up against each other this year. I don't know if they'll meet in the postseason for the 4th time in 6 years. That would be truly incredible if it happens in 2025, but all of it remains a possibility. I think again, I think most people would tell you it's going to be hard for anyone to win this division other than LA. And it's going to take something like what the Padres did in the second half last year. You're going to need to put together some really, really, impressive stretch of 60 games, a 40-20 type stretch to put yourself in a position to maybe be there at the end. I think it's going to take something like that. Playing this type of baseball, what the Padres have played, which is good, 571 or whatever it is, winning percentage, that's good. It's not winning the division. They'll have to play better than that. The Dodgers are not going to come back to earth, at least not that much back. And they're capable of going 9-1 over a 10-game stretch or, winning 13-14 or whatever it is. And I think the Padres might be capable too. We saw them start 14-3. So that's all in front of us. Right? We haven't even reached Memorial Day. All of that is in front of us. Kind of to your point, Sunriser, go Padres. Enjoy it because it's a long year. And that's the point. It's a long year. So we can't make, steadfast statements, right? We can't make definitive statements as of yet. Although it would be hard for me to say it truthfully and honestly that, it's going to be easy to win this division. Of course, it's not going to be easy to win this division. Nobody thought it would be, even when they started 14-3. It was never going to be easy to win this division. If the Padres do it, they're going to do it in the midst of a historic season by their standards. They will need obviously high 90s wins, if not more than that, to potentially win this division. And that's not going to be easy. And that's not me saying anything that nobody doesn't already know. All right. Is that going to do it, guys, for the wrap-up show? I will be back Sunday night recapping this series as the grind continues. Padres wrapping up a road trip, and then they'll be back home for 6 games against the Marlins and the Pirates. And please join me Sunday night, and please join me next week as well on John and Jim. We're not working Memorial Day on John and Jim. I will have a wrap-up show for you, I think, on Monday night. But we've got a wrap-up show Sunday night, and then wrap-up shows all week long as well coming up on the other side as the Padres will get back home, and hopefully they'll win this series, and we'll recap this series coming up on Sunday night. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do that for me, if you wouldn't mind. If you're here on replay, thank you for the super thanks. Please support our partners, by the way, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance, Mova Globes, SeatGeek, Underdog Fantasy, Hamul Casino. You can even support my partner here on the show, my partner in crime, Jim Russell, who's on his way to Hawaii this weekend celebrating his 1-year anniversary. Appreciate you guys. Padres, they snapped that 6-game skid. They win in Atlanta 2-1. We will catch up again on Sunday night. My name is John Schaefer. This has been the wrap-up show. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe. Happy Memorial Day weekend.